Hello, folks.
Hi there.
It's another episode of Würfelcast, episode, what is it, 78?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit...
You know the numbers.
I know the numbers, yeah. It's 78. And the topic of the day is top 5 games that fooled us. It's a Fool's Day. It's April the 1st. April 1st. And yeah, it's no joke. We're here. We're doing this. You know,
That's true.
it's been a while. We had to skip few weeks for a plethora of reasons. Just happens. Sometimes it just happens. You know.
It does.
But as we are no joke, so we return. Starting from April, yeah, and Kyle's
really
been there.
Leaning in.
Yeah, Kyle's been there, filling in on Wednesdays. Sometimes we've delayed Wednesdays. I mean Thursdays, but due to my own incapability.
It's recorded on a Wednesday, but sometimes it takes a little to get up. But that happens.
Yes. All right. So
every week.
Yeah, true. All right, so here we are, and I think without further ado, let's just hop in to our topics. First of all, we have recent plays, and I think Kyle is the one who would like to start talk about the game he played recently and really loved or hated.
Sure. Well, I'll use my opportunity to talk about something I've enjoyed. This is a game that arrived just a couple of days ago, and I immediately dove in. And it is a single-player campaign game called Legacy of You, Why You?
Why me?
Well, spelling it so that you don't write it the traditional way. So
Terrible
Legacy
name.
of You is, well, I mean, I guess Yu is some character from Chinese history or lore.
Yeah, I know you.
Anyway, so this is a single player game. To me, it feels somewhere between Paladins of the West Kingdom and Hadrian's Wall. It kind of feels like one of those two, somewhere in there. And what you're doing in this game is you're trying to build 6 canals and and survive until the end of the round where you build the 6th canal. If you do that, you win. And then the campaign, it's a campaign, so you're going to play again until you've won 6 times or lost 6 times. And the game has a handy way to track that. Basically, if you lose the game, you'll flip over an I lost card, and it will usually give you, so you'll look up something in the storybook. I lost once, and it opened up. It said, find this card, and this is a new special ability for you to use in the future. And I've won, and then it puts there's this deck of bad guys up there on the top right, the barbarian deck, and it added some souped up bad guys when I won a game. So it's trying to balance itself so that it's a challenge throughout the campaign. And I think that's an interesting way to do it. It almost feels like the shift system that you see in a game like Mind Management, for example. But yeah, what you're doing on your turn is you'll get a few resources, and then you'll use them. And much like Hadrian's Wall, you're turning a white worker in to get a blue worker, and the blue worker in to draw a card, and then the card in for a shell and a wood, or however it may happen. You're sort of trying to. You have a limited number of resources and a lot to do, and you're trying to sort of make those things work. You can also invest in your own infrastructure, build these little wooden buildings you see out there on the board. And those are going to give you different bonuses, whether they're income, or you can use things as though they're other things, or just sort of various items that you can do. And you're going to do that until you win or lose. There's also this flood that's going to move on these canals. And if it ever catches you, if it ever gets to a piece of the canal you haven't built, that also triggers a loss. And then also based upon whether you won or lost due to a barbarian invasion or due to the flood, it will sort of trigger how the game is going to help you for the next play session. And that's really it. I mean, there is some story there. There's various things that when you'll do, they'll say open the storybook to entry number 42 or whatever it might be. And then it'll give you something, and that something could be something good. It could be an extra task you have to do. A lot of different things that kind of happen as the game is happening. I've been enjoying it. I've only played it the 2 times so far. I lost once and won once. And the game says, don't worry if that happens. There's not sort of a just play it mode. There's, it says, don't worry, you might lose a time or two, and the game will balance to compensate for that. So I've been enjoying it. It's and I'll probably play through the campaign. I mean, it's a solo game, so I can definitely find somebody to play with. And if you like I guess Hadrian's Wall, I keep mentioning that because my brother said, "Oh, it sounds like Hadrian's Wall," and it kind of is, right? It's the same. I think the same artist. It's the same art style for sure, but just sort of with a slowly evolving, light dusting of story and some different things that are coming out. I've enjoyed it.
All right, yeah. I have nothing to say. I've not played any of the Shem Phillips games. I know, shocking. It's just things happen. Games happen. Games don't happen. I cannot play in every game possible. I've never been kind of attached, or I've never been attached to the idea of playing any of these games, because when I look at them, they feel, I know that the art and things, it's cartoonish and it's worker placement, then it's worker placement again, then it's some kind of different worker placement, then it's like, I don't know, just didn't invite me, the mechanisms and things. But eventually I'll try some of these games, and maybe I'll try this one as well. And see, I like the art here.
Yeah, he has sort of his own style in games, and they're all sort of different iterations. I do like that this one is not the same style as the sort of more well-known West Kingdom series. This is the other set of artwork that he uses in the Raiders of Scythia and a couple of games in that line. I don't know. It's I've enjoyed it, and again, I like solo games. There's no way to play this with more than one player. So if you tried it, you would be trying it alone.
Oh, all by myself?
Well, I mean, I guess you could invite someone to watch you, to watch you move stuff around.
Oh, I see. Yeah, solo game. Yeah. Skip. All right. Let me talk about the game that you can play with more than one person. Okay. And this is a game I played, let's say, quite recently. And the one that you would assume I would not, like, if I told you that, you would be a little bit surprised that I played it, but I played it. It's Tapanushi. Oops.
Oh, you finally played that.
I finally played it. So
forever.
No, the thing is that I got a review copy from Board and Dice, but it's been really difficult to get it to the table because of the nature of the game, and it's a very Euro game. It doesn't look like it invites you to play it lightly. So this is from T series of games, and I've not played many of them. My friends still suggest that I play the Teotihuacan, the City of Gods, and I look at these games and I'm like, okay, I'm not sure, even if I play it, I might be okay with it, but I'm quite sure I will not like it. But with Tapanushi, I was like, well, let's try. I need to try a T game. Let's try this one. And Tapanushi is I cannot say a dice game, but it's a placement game. It's a building game in a sense, but more of a, straight puzzle nature. It's hard to describe. So you have various regions, and there's this cool mechanism which I quite enjoy, the mechanism itself. So you have the I don't remember, the assistant and the architect, whatever, and the architect is the one that moves based on a die that you take from that particular region you're in. For example, if you take a die number 3, then your architect moves onto a third location. And that means that next turn, you will go to that location. So the architect kind of plans the movement for you one step forward, And that's how sometimes you want to take the dice based on where you want to go, or based on what dice you do need. Because dice, once you take them, they are movement for once for the architect, then they become resources. Then the number doesn't matter, it's just the color. And you're trying to build, first of all, I call them blueprints of the buildings, and then eventually build the buildings. And there's like the rulebook. When you read the rulebook, it's quite simple at first. Like, oh, so you just need to place down a tile, and then there's like, but you need to follow these 7 rules how to place a tile. I'm like, okay. So you need to place it here, but not here. Oh, here. But this one, next to that one is not good. But next to that one is good. And no, here, no. It's like, oh my God. All right, I'll get through that. I got through that. There's another placement thing where same, like 200 different exceptions how to place and not to place some things. It bothers me a little. But eventually, yeah, you're building those buildings, you're trying to score them. There are 2 locations. So 3 of the locations are your usual stuff. You place the blueprints. Sometimes you place them next to a vegetation tile or a water tile or whatever. You can score some things. You can build the gardens, basically. You can build them on top of the water. It's hard to explain the game because it's such an abstract let's say placement puzzle mechanism that you're trying to kind of maximize your like or try to find the efficient ways to build those buildings and place them in the right kind of a shape and things, because you can build a building. So one building it can be 1 to 3 pieces. Can be just one building, and whoever controls it, whatever, going to get some points. There are 2 locations that are quite interesting and cool. The 2 locations are the 4th location, if I can find it, I don't know, but maybe here on the right side is the port, the shipyard, whatever. And here you can put down your tokens, and of course you have to pay the resources, and resources are dice, so you have to go around, collect the dice, and eventually you can spend them. You can put down your tokens, which give you access to the abilities, and so you become better in some things in this game. So now when you place a ship down, or when you place a blueprint tile, you can place it on the water space, whatever. I don't know. It's like some bonuses that you can benefit from throughout the game. Other things are just, the track, the cards that are like mission cards that you fulfill, you get some points, blah, blah, blah. The 5th location is eventually I don't know if I can... There's no... Okay, let it be. The 5th location is the Babylon, or what's the temple type of thing, where there are scoring tiles, and you are placing your building... I don't know what they are, meeples, whatever. Yeah, just building pieces onto those tiles along with the circles, so you can score points for whatever is happening on the board. Like, for example, for each of the 3 vegetation tiles that you surround, whatever. Something like that. So overly, as you can feel and see from my explanation, it's as abstract and as kind of dry as you can get. There's no, there are some really cool decisions on, let's say, what dice do you take? So you take a die number 5 because next turn you want to be in a 5th location, but sometimes you're searching for this kind of a path that your architect moves through so you can get the most benefit. Oh, but here I could spend a yellow resource, which is a yellow die, but I need another yellow die, so I don't have to spend my gold, because the gold is a valuable resource. It's like a joker type of resource. So you're trying to find those paths. This is cool. In the port where you get the abilities that will help you throughout the game, this is cool. Building stuff, I don't know. So each location has different. Each location has those actions. Basically, 3 districts have the same actions, and 1 action which is different from game to game, depending how you set up the game. And sometimes your actions are like, I just put down 2 blueprints or whatever they are, the project tiles. I just do this simple thing. Sometimes it's more involved things. So some turns are very simple and not so engaging, not so cool, and some turns are okay, now I finally do something. You have to build up to something, then do something cool. It's not like each turn I have, I do this amazing thing, and then next turn I do that amazing thing. And I know many games do that, but in a sense, with some games, I feel like all of my turns can be, let's say, good or great with games I like. Here, some turns are bad. You can mess up here as well. You kind of messed up your thought process. Your architect went, like you sent your architect there, but then you realized, oh, I don't have enough resources. I'm stuck, it's like, okay, then I have to go back and get those resources, but this turn is now just for nothing. All of this just makes me cry. No.
No.
I don't know. It's just that, as I said, in like I sometimes do some commentary or a small, really small, basic review type of a thing on our local groups in Facebook, and I said that sometimes these designers do complex game for the sake of complexity, not for the sake of fun. And that is the biggest issue here. It's complex for the sake of complexity. Why? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I did not love this game. I enjoy many games in that series. This one, and I don't know, I guess this is the second T game you've played.
Tapanushi.
That was the other one, yeah. And, I didn't mind Tapanushi, but this one, I don't know that I liked this one really at all. So, and this is coming from a fan of the series. I like Teotihuacan a lot. I like Tekenu a lot, but a little bit less. And then I like Tiletum that came out this year, or I guess last year. But they've not all been hits, so just be aware. They are all also a little on the ugly side. So there's that.
Yeah, we just for the reference, I also have Terracotta Army.
Oh, I have not played that one.
Yeah, so I could not talk about this one here because we played only a few rounds. There was an issue that my friend had to go to resolve an issue, a personal issue. So yeah, we had to stop a game. But Terracotta Army is a much more promising. There are many more things I like more. So let's hope for next time I can talk about Terracotta Army and how good it is.
I see.
Yeah. All right.
right.
Let's end broadcast. No, I'm kidding.
Bye.
Let's get to the next topic, which is crowdfunding. That's where you get funds from the crowd. And yeah, they make your dreams come true, as with Simon Games, and Queen Games. They could not survive without the crowdfunding. Wink. So, Kyle, why don't you start? Tell me, where's your project?
My project this time is on GameFound.
You found the game? Okay.
I did find a game. It's one that I had known was coming for a while, and it's right there in the top left, which is Elder Scrolls Betrayal.
I looked at it, but didn't speak to me.
Well, look, I've never played the Elder Scrolls games. I started playing the Skyrim, and I couldn't get into it. Actually, what happened was there was a really long opening cutscene, and then I realized I'd made a small mistake, and I had to watch it again. And so I said, "Okay, I think I'm done."
Yeah, just to chime in, I tried Skyrim. I think I've played one of the previous versions before. Then I tried Skyrim. I tried it twice, I think. Never really could kind of go past the first mission because it's not a good game.
Well, and so I would not have been interested in this game, save for but one reason, and that is, of course, the publisher of this game. And that publisher is Chip Theory Games. And since I generally tend to enjoy their products a lot, I all of a sudden came back in. So
because you can play them while you're swimming. Yeah.
Well, you can. They are fully waterproof. I've unfortunately checked. But they always do a good job. They don't put out stuff just to cash in, and their games always have a lot of development in them, a lot of love behind them. I do not know the theme, but then again, I didn't know much about the Cloudspire world or the Too Many Bones world or any of those worlds when I went in, and yet I've always enjoyed their games. So I don't know much about this one yet, but I tend to get whatever they're offering. Unlike many companies, they do not sell this other than on their website, and they'll sell it for more than they'll sell it here on the Kickstarter, or the GameFound. So you'll get your best price this way rather than waiting for later. But look, the artwork looks fine. I'm sure the gameplay mechanisms are well thought out and well designed, and I'm excited to try it. It looks a lot like this sort of board with the dice on it. You'll see a little bit later. It kind of looks like a Too Many Bones skill tracker almost.
Yeah, this one.
And so I'm seeing some elements of Too Many Bones and Cloudspire, which I really enjoy, and I'm prepared to like this one a lot.
So it's a base game pledge is about $200, which is like a ton.
It's a lot of money. So their games are never cheap. Their games, you're always going to be between $100 and $200. Now there's really just the two pledge levels, right? You've got or maybe there's three, but you've got the base game, you've got some expansions, and then there's this ridiculous all-in pledge level, which has everything.
400.
It is a little bit of money, and in there you've got the base game and the expansion. You've got a large playmat because, of course, you need to make sure your neoprene is on top of neoprene. Because that's what all of their components always are. They must keep that industry in business. You've got some dice trays, which you don't really need. You've got some nice big bags, which you're drawing chips out of. And these bags are nice. They have one. I have one in Hoplomachus. It stands up by itself, so you can just put your hand in. And some other junk that you don't need.
I looked at it. I was like, should I choose it? I mean, like, I'm interested in this one because they might make a good game based on Elder Scrolls. That's cool. That's the world that can speak to me, at least. And when I look at all of this, I feel like it's going to be a combat-based, abstract-ish kind of a skirmish game, which, you know, I looked at this and I feel like it's not going to be the one that I would like, because all about combat and this abstract movement and this board just looks ugly for me, to be honest. Like, the art on that board is cool, but those hexes, I don't know, it's just kind of doesn't look good.
And for me, who loves many of their other products, I'm very excited to try this one. So
yeah, okay. All right, so let me go to Kickstarter instead, because to be honest, I looked at stuff and I'm like, okay, there's nothing really here. Should I just choose a random game just to laugh at it? And then I chose something, and I chose Galactic Renaissance. It's by the designer of Inish, and it's Inish, which we all played. It's a drafting game, area control game. It was kind of in the same kind of a series as Cyclades and Kemet, and then there was like Inish, a Celtic mythology, or Celts. So I think they kind of advertised it as this one, but then now it's a Galactic Renaissance, so it kind of means that Inish is in its own trilogy, or how do you say, duology? I don't know. Anyway, so this one here is like it's gonna be Inish in space. It looks like that.
I mean,
so you have the regions. You're putting down these people. You have this Inish drafting going on here as well. It looks cool. To be honest, it looks cool. I like the art. And who's the artist here? It does seem to be. Wait. Oh. The art by Tano Bonfanti. So the art here looks a bit like Vincent Dutray art, just a bit, if you look at it, but not completely. Anyway, so this is Inish in space. I have nothing to say here. I don't know. There are definitely some differences. I just looked at it briefly. It's base pledge €75 instead of estimated 130. I mean, okay, so wow, they're trying to make money, and so there's kind of an all-in pledge, which is €100 instead of 187. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the prices are fair. For this stuff, you have to pay almost €190 MSRP, which is about $200. And we saw Skyrim with neoprene everything type of things. I feel like they are kind of making it too pricey retail. I mean, like, yeah, it sounds weird. It sounds weird. It shouldn't be that pricey MSRP. Mm-hmm. Okay, my God, you're overpricing your games. Anyway, yeah, Galactic Renaissance. If you wanna get Inish in space, back it. If don't back it.
I might sit that one out.
Okay, let's just sit it out. And this is it. And now we get to the third topic, which is buy, try, goodbye. So Kyle, last time it was me presenting you 3 wonderful games. Now it's yours.
That is right. And we have a third secret game that we're an extra secret game we can play if you can figure out what connects these 3 games.
Okay. I'll do that without Board Game Geek, so it will be.
Yeah, well, I don't. It's not really very hard. All right. So the first game, and you can go on Board Game Geek if you want and show it, but the first game I'm going to
Yeah.
present to you is a game called Jekyll and Hyde. Now, this is a Korean game, and it is it's a trick taking game for 2 players, and one of you plays the role of Dr. Jekyll, and the other is Mr. Hyde, and you're playing tricks in 3 different colors, and each color has sort of a special ability that it can activate.
What?
Oh, this is a different version.
What's the Pokemon?
I don't think those were the components in the version I have.
I see. Oh, here.
So Pokemon is not the connecting here.
I would buy that. I would buy Pokemon. Okay. Sorry.
And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to move this figure, this, I guess, psyche, on a track. And Dr. Jekyll's trying to keep it on his side, and Mr. Hyde's trying to get it to go to the other side. And the way you'll do that is by the number of tricks that you win. Dr. Jekyll, if I remember correctly, he wants to win as many as he loses. He wants it perfectly imbalanced. And Mr. Hyde does not care if he wins or loses. He just wants one side to win a lot and have it be way out of balance. So, and then you're going to move this tracker based upon how well you did at your goal. And you'll play until, I believe there's 3 rounds, and if Dr. Jekyll has been able to keep it in balance for 3 rounds, he wins, and Mr. Hyde can win early if he gets this token to the end of a track, or he loses at the end of the 3 rounds. Anyway, it's an interesting back and forth, a lot of things that because there are these special abilities that you'll be able to activate. Things are never quite as scripted as sometimes trick-taking games can feel, but it's a really interesting 2-player trick-taking game from Korea.
I'll reserve my comments.
Okay. The next game we're going to talk about is a game called Claim. Claim. And there's about 500 versions of this because they keep coming out with expansions. But let's just talk about the base game.
I know that one, yeah.
So it was not in your list of games you had played. So
no, I've not played it. I've seen it.
So I like Claim is a 2-player trick-taking game where you're going to be playing through the deck 2 times, more or less. And the way that it works is the first round, there's a card that you're bidding on. And whoever wins this trick is going to take that card and add it to their deck for the second round. And whoever does not win the trick will take the top card randomly. So you'll be looking at the card, seeing what it is, and then deciding whether you want to go heavy and win this trick or whether you would prefer not to. And ultimately, then you'll play that through half the deck, and then the cards that you won on the first time through are going to be your hand for the second half. And then whoever has the most in each of the factions, I think there's 5 different factions, if I remember correctly. And if you have 3 out of the 5, you're going to win the game. Each of the different suits has its own special ability. There's one that can be any color. There's one that it always beats a certain other type. There's a variety of different abilities that you're kind of going through. Some of them are more powerful in the first half or the second half. Anyway, don't need to describe it all right now, but it's an interesting twist on trick-taking that you're just sort of, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like anything else, but it's one of my favorite trick-taking games and one of my favorite 2-player games. So there you have it. Claim.
Mm-hmm.
And the third game up for bid is Fox in the Forest. So Fox in the Forest is a 2-player trick-taking game in which what you have is there's 3 suits, and you're trying to get a certain number of points. And the way you're going to win the points is there's this little table, and if you win a certain number of tricks, you get a certain number of points, but there's a window in which you get the maximum points. And if you win them all, then you're going to get nothing. So you're trying to balance, how many of these tricks you win. All the odd numbers have special abilities that can kind of mess with how things work. But it's fairly standard trick-taking rules. There's a trump card, and one person plays a trick, and then the other person has to follow or play a different one, and you're trying to win or lose the right number so that you get sort of in that sweet spot, and making the use of all the special abilities. So there you have it. Did you notice the common thread?
Yeah, games that I don't like. Yeah.
You've not played any of them, so you don't know if you like them.
No, I already don't like them. I don't know.
They're all two-player trick-taking games.
Yes, I know.
You noticed that?
Don't rub that salt into my wound.
Have you ever played a two-player trick-taking game?
To be honest, I played something that I thought like I played Fox in the Forest, but maybe not. I don't remember if I played a trick-taking game, which is a two-player. I don't know. I don't usually remember any of them.
I see.
Yes. Not so memorable.
So which one are you buying?
Let me get back here. So now, Jekyll Hyde is the one where, look, I'm not into this theme. I'm not the biggest fan of Jekyll Hyde. I know, doesn't click with me. Now, the art was okay. It was fine. As I realize, I realize it's a kind of a little bit of the tug of war kind of thing that the token goes back and forth on the track.
It does not go back and forth. It only goes one way.
I'll go one way. Okay, so that's good. That's if that would be like back and forth, I don't like that. Now, claim is the one that you say that sometimes you want to win a card, sometimes you don't want to win a card, and it's your choice to make, and it's like it's a viable choice. It's an important choice to make. Yeah, I like that idea. I like the art. I like the style. It sounds cool. Different powers of cards, etc. So one of those three is the one I'm gonna buy, and that's gonna be claim. Okay. The one I'm gonna try is, I've heard a lot of good things about Fox in the Forest. I like the art there as well. It seems to be kind of interesting. On the other hand, it's a trick-taking game, so I've not enjoyed many of them. And with the Fox in the Forest, there is duet version as well, which I don't understand.
Cooperative version, yeah.
It's a cooperative. Okay.
I've not played the cooperative version.
I see, because I might have maybe let's say if it's cooperative, it might work for me better than just a trick-taking game. But yeah, I'm gonna try the Fox in the Forest, and I'm gonna say goodbye to, first of all, Dr. Jekyll, and then I'm gonna say a huge goodbye to Mr. Hyde.
Okay. What about the Pokemon?
I'm going to say yes to Pokemon. If this is a Pokemon game, I mean, I just... Look, I played, so I finally gave up and bought the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet version. Was it Violet version? The newest Pokemon game on Switch, Nintendo Switch. So I was like, okay.
Oh.
I heard a lot of bad things and bugs and things that was like, the game is, not the best. But they claimed that the story and things is great. So I was like, you know me, I'm gonna buy. I'm a sucker for Pokemon games on Nintendo consoles and stuff. I play all of them. So I bought it and I played it, and I didn't sleep much. I went to work for several days. So no, I'm kidding. Anyway, okay. But yeah. So I'm sucker for Pokemon. So give me some Pokemon 2-player trick-taking game cooperative. I'm gonna be in.
All right, we'll see what we can do. Very well. That's my presentation for you. 3 games I was pretty sure you had not played.
Yes, that was a wise choice and also quite obvious one. All right, let's get to the topic of the day, which is, can you guess? Yes.
All right, I was sneezing.
Can you sneeze? Okay. Bless you.
Can I guess? I know what the topic is.
top 5 games that fooled us. Now,
that's what you meant. Okay. They have prepared a slightly different list.
You did?
No, I'm just teasing you.
Okay. Anyway, so this game is all about. So sometimes when we look at the game and it gives us a vibe of, let's say, we look at this game, it gives me a vibe of a great adventure game, you know. And it's one game is not on my list. Just an example. I look at Legends of Ender, amazing art. It gives me all this adventure ooze, and then I play it, and it's an abstract puzzle game. You know, it's games that fool us based on the first impression that we get from the game, and then eventually when we play it, it kind of promised one thing and delivered something else in a good or a bad way. So there's no restriction on that thing. All of mine are. Wait, why do I have? I, for some reason, have 2 games that are the same. So we'll start with you while I figure out what's wrong here, because there should be a game that.
Shame on you.
No, there should be one game that. Oh, I know what game it is. I accidentally put one game 2 times on my list, but I fooled myself. Anyway, so what's your opinion on that topic?
I mean, this is a weird topic, right? It's one that you kind of have to think about. I kind of went through games that, I looked at the games I've played and rated and sort of thought what my impressions were looking at the box, thought what my impressions were when I heard or saw the game, and then sort of went back to what I actually thought and tried to find some that had fooled me. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about, my number 5, fooled me in a different way, but we'll get that when we get there. Anyway, this is just sort of we'll see how this list goes.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to number 5.
All right. My number 5 is a game I know you've played because I played it with you. And this one is the reason this one's on my list. Well, the game is Betrayal Legacy. And as soon as I say that, you know why it's on my list.
Yes.
The very and I won't spoil it for people who want to experience it, because that first game is something very special. There are some things that happen in the first game where you're doing one thing, and then all of a sudden the game just completely flips itself on you, and it does so in such a satisfying, laugh out loud way. And I was just like, you got me, game. You got me.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, that didn't continue, and it became just basically playing Betrayal at House on the Hill several times.
Not a great one. Yeah.
But that first game, I mean, I guess it fooled me in 2 ways. It fooled me within sort of this paradigm it had created, and it also fooled me into thinking that I was in for an uproarious time. But anyway, the very first game just it got me.
That's such a great pick, because I realized I skipped that one because I forgot. Yeah, the first game. Yeah, you're right. It could be my number 5. It could be somewhere in my top 5. Let's say it's my top 6. Yeah, number 6. Because exactly, the first game made me promises it could not keep. It's on this verge of disappointment. It fooled me into thinking that it's a different game now. In a sense, like it's fixed. Everything is in balance. Everything is great. It works now. No, there's no balance.
It showed a lot of promise. If they had been able to keep that first game, the momentum of that first one up for the whole series, this would have been the best legacy game of all time. But
for me, very much up high there in my top 15 of all time, probably.
Top 15 legacy games.
No, just games.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so that's my first game that fooled me, and
All right.
it fooled me within the parameters of the game.
Yeah. All right. So my number 5 is a. It kind of fooled me, but I was drawn to the world, but didn't expect much. I expected something completely else, something dry, something heavy, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it, but I'm not gonna like it. But I just need to try it because nobody's gonna buy it amongst my friends. So somebody's gonna buy it and try it, and that's Cloud Age. And Cloud Age fooled me because, first of all, it's Alexander Pfister game, and it fooled many other people who thought it's Alexander Pfister's game. And then other people, why it's not well beloved, because other people say, oh, Alexander Pfister, but it's not his usual self, you know? It's not his heavy, cool stuff. And I'm like, ooh, it's not his heavy, cool, uncool stuff. It's this great mid-weight Euro stuff. I wasn't expecting I haven't played, so I played lighter games from Alexander Pfister. I wasn't expecting, like I don't have experience with heavy games like Great Western Trail, etc. But I've seen those games. I've seen those games played. I could see what to expect from Pfister from a heavier Euro perspective. And Isle of Skye, which was such a dry and not a great time for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to buy it, but I'm sure it's going to be an abstract. I'm not going to like it. Just for whatever reason, I set up an expectation as very low. And then you get this kind of a tableau building of the cards. I like that. Oh, those clouds, they work well. I was like, how this is going to work? It's such a simple mechanism of moving around and having all those things. I was like, I need to battle somehow. No, you just step on it. You get it. It's like, it's so easy. Everything's just so smooth. So yeah, it fooled me as I expected a much less elegant game based on the name on the box, Alexander Pfister.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
And DLP games, of course.
Probably be on your list because you have often talked about what a surprise it was for you. So,
I mean, it's a surprise as well. Yeah, So the full kind of a topic we have here is disappointment, surprises, but in a sense, like some games didn't really, like some games on my list didn't really surprise me in a sense, but they still fooled me. Mm-hmm. I expected to like them. I liked them, but I liked them for a different reason, let's say. So, yeah, whatever. Yeah, let's get to number 4.
Let's go. All righty, my number 4. So my number 4 is a game I've talked about before, but it's this game it kind of fooled me twice. So I'm going to start by I'll start by telling you the name of the game is Dyson Stein. And so
Dyson what?
Dyson Stein, like Frankenstein, but with dice instead of Frank.
Oh, God.
So initially, it fooled me because I looked at the artwork.
Yes.
And I thought this game looks awful.
Look at this font. Oh.
I mean, I said, wow, this game looks awful. And then
I'm sorry.
All right. So it's winning. So I thought this game looks terrible. And then I read about it. And I looked at it, and it sounded amazing, right? You're rolling these dice and creating these monsters out of dice. You've got to find a head, find a body, find arms and legs, and you're creating this monster that you're then going to move around and fight. And it's going to be a custom monster. And I thought, oh, I'm back in. And then I paid lots of money for the game, and I played it, and it was just awful. It was it was nigh unplayable because the dice, it's impossible to see what all their various statistics. You're constantly having to add stuff up. It just wasn't any fun. I had to apologize to the people that I made play it with me. It was, I mean, it fooled me initially into thinking, oh, well, okay. Anyway, it taught me I just need to go with my first impressions sometime, because it's from a designer. I've liked, at least one of his other games, Cthulhu Wars, and I decided to give it a chance. And just the concept of rolling this custom monster and having sort of this creation and using dice in a different way than they're usually used, I thought this was going to be. I guess it's not from the same company, maybe not from the same designer.
No, it's totally one time.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Oh, same company. Okay, got it.
Same company. Okay. So anyway, Anyway, Dyson Stein fooled me twice, so shame on me. It's one of my biggest Kickstarter disappointments, and definitely not worth the wait, and definitely not worth tracking down. If you couldn't tell that from the amazing artwork, well, I guess.
I mean, there's a lot of pictures where they make. This is the body type of thing. Okay.
Yeah. And see, it has all those different stats, and you have to be able to see and pay attention to all of them.
Why does it have two heads and the legs on the wrong sides, and then the hands somewhere on the the crotch area?
It was so, yeah. Well, anyway, that can be, each die can be a different type of body part. Anyway, I don't remember the rules that well. I just remember this was a huge dud for me, and I was led in. It fooled me by its promising concept that turns out not to have been play tested very well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so my number 4 is well-beloved game. I love this game, and quite a few people were disappointed in it. They were fooled by it in a sense of the initial art and the world that it's set in. The world and the art felt so much more darker and sinister, and the game is Abyss. And I was also fooled by Abyss. So initially, when you look at this picture, you're like, okay, the shite's gonna go down. So you're feeling that it's gonna be a kind of a sinister plot going on, some battling, for the underwater world. It gives you the whole control factions, influence the court, reign over underwater realms. When you heard the first words about this game, we didn't know about the whole gameplay yet. At that point, you hear about that. What do you expect? You expect a Kemet action.
Yeah.
And then we are turning over cards, spending pearls to get the cards, and then we spend those cards with the numbers on them to match the numbers on the lords, and and get the lords, and they score us what? Oh yes, victory points. And some abilities. There is a little bit of take that. Just a tiny bit with some of the lords. It's like 1 or 2 lords, But the thing is, it eventually was such an easygoing, elegant game, smooth game, quiet, kind of a, in a sense, relaxing game. Just turn over a card. Do you want that card for 1 pearl? No? No. Okay. Control the factions. Reign the underwater world. It's like, okay, it fooled us. But for me, I feel like it was a great thing because I do enjoy these relaxing games, and the world is cool. The whole gameplay is great. I love the gameplay, especially with the expansions. The expansions add so much for this game. So I love it. But it fooled everybody with its with its an announcement, let's say.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Okay, let's get to number 3.
Let's go. All right, my number 3 is kind of a weird game. Again, these are games that fooled me.
Dyson Stein 2?
No, I'm not going to make that. So there's a game that I enjoy called Summoner Wars. And that's not the game that fooled me. That game is everything it promised.
You fooled me into playing this game. Oh, no, I'm kidding.
The designer of the game, he had a podcast, and he was talking about a superhero game he was going to design. And he was going to call the game Vindicators. And, it kind of was something he'd talk about, and then nothing really came of it. And then one year at Gen Con, they announced they were putting out a superhero game. And I just knew that this was going to be that. And the game was called Guardians.
Yeah.
And it's basically like, so look, I do not dislike Guardians. It's a fine game. I enjoy the game. But I went into it thinking it was going to be about these, the story that he was talking about was this, the superheroes, and they'd all kind of gone. And then there was this last group of people that was like their kids or something, and they were rising up and developing their superpowers and going out. And I expected this to be some sort of a combat type game with superheroes. And what it is basically Marvel Snap. I mean, before Marvel Snap was a thing where you're playing cards and moving stuff around to control a couple of locations. Look, at no point did they say this is the Vindicators. But I put 2 and 2 together, and as usual, I got 5. So I allowed myself to be fooled by something because I was expecting something else. It's not the fault of the game, and the game is not terrible. It just isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, was I with you? It was 2018.
And I ran right there to
in Gen Con. In Gen Con, yeah, I remember. Yeah, you're like, oh, it's going to be this. I love Summer Wars. I love this. Kind of feel. Yeah. I was like, okay, yet another one. It's combat. It's a skirmish game. Yeah, this guys just skipped it right away. Okay. All right. So my number 3 is, and I'm sure you're gonna agree with that this game, based on the cover, based on everything, this game fooled many people. And yet again, I love this game. This game is somewhere in my top 10 of all time. Somewhere. I'm not gonna spoil where exactly, because it's April, so soon we're gonna do my top 100 games of all time. Okay. All right. It's Scythe. Look, Scythe, based on what it showed and how it was, like, yet again, how it was advertised. It's Terra Mystica meets Kemet. You hear that? If I remember. But what? Agricola?
Agricola is the one that I heard.
Maybe Agricola. Something like, I remember, like a Eurogame meets Kemet, something. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. But Kemet is like, it's combat. It's heavy. You attack each turn. It's like, okay, I'm not sure about that, but it looks cool. The art looks amazing. The world looks amazing. I'm gonna back it on Kickstarter. And so, I love the game. Based on my previous list a year ago, it's my top 1 game of all time. So you can see how much I love this game, especially with the expansions and Rise of Fenris expansion. Now, the game fooled me as well, in a sense that I didn't expect this kind of a turn structure. I didn't expect that kind of the turns are gonna go quick. I didn't expect how the combat will work. I didn't expect, like, of course I didn't rule. My first impression was like, we're gonna go out, battle with the mechs, but the mechs were more of a movement thing, They spread out your farmers and things. It's like everything worked against my initial impression and expectation of this game, and it was even better than I like initially thought. I wasn't expecting it to be such a Euro-y but thematic game, such a hybrid game. So it fooled me. It fooled many people, and some people, of course, they like there's because the community of Stone games is such a huge community, and there's so many haters of the company because the company does well. It's my opinion, but there's always going to be haters. Like, oh, this game should not be in the top 10 of BDG. Let's put a 1 to it. It's like kind of a okay, whatever you do, whatever makes you happy. So there were those people who, and I read a ton of comments, a ton of commentary from people saying the box promised me that I'm gonna fight mechs. I'm gonna do all of this war. And I'm like, yeah, but then turn over the box. There's description, and at that point when the game came out, there was rules. There was like everything. Like, if you look at the game box image and it fools you, it's your own fault in a sense. It was your expectations if you didn't do any background work. So that's why I'm not blaming Scythe. Of course, at that point, when I heard about Scythe, it wasn't on Kickstarter. It was like kind of announced, and it came to Kickstarter. I didn't know much about the game at that time, so I backed it on Kickstarter. So, but now when people say that, I'm like, there's so much information about the game. Just read a little bit about the game. Like, come on. Like, it's like, I wanted to buy a knife so I can cut the paper, like, but it doesn't cut as well as scissors. Like, okay, what? Okay, sorry. Anyway.
Okay, that's a weird analogy, but
I know,
okay.
I know. Yeah. Let's get to number 2.
Let's go. All right. So for my number 2, I'm going to need you to find a very specific edition of this game, specifically the 2010 edition.
Pupukaka?
The game is called Catacombs. But you have to go into this game where I went into this game. Which
you mean the first edition?
That's the one. So this is the game, right? I bought this game just kind of on a whim.
Ooh.
And I was like, I was kind of new to buying these, lots of games, and I bought it. I don't know if I heard about it being sort of a game where you would do combat in a different way, where you were flicking the discs. But I looked at this game and I was like, oh my goodness, what is this? Now that's not even the new version. That's somebody's custom version. The first edition of this game was so grim and serious. You can't even find pictures, it looks like, of the first. Those are first edition pictures.
This is the first edition, yeah.
It looks like anyway.
Somebody put the stickers on, whatever. Yeah.
It was black and white art, bad art, very dark and grim. For a game that really is, a very lighthearted flick discs and do damage to things, right? It's supposed to be light, fun, and fluffy. And the first edition of this made it seem like it was going to be this serious, dark experience. And to the point where I kind of was like, well, should I be buying this? I mean, is this going to taint my soul? The artwork was terrible. The production quality was terrible. Yet, when I finally got it, I fell in love. I mean, this game is one of the most lighthearted, fun experiences you can have for two people that there is. So it fooled me into thinking it was going to be something heavy and serious and dark, and it turned out it was something light and fun. And the newer edition definitely captures the sort of lightheartedness of the game in a much more realistic way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I can see that. I played the newer version already, so.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever played the older version. And you don't need to. There's no need to track it down.
So my number 2 is, it's in the same way as for you, your number 2. I thought it's gonna be somewhat heavier in a sense, somewhat more heavier in some of the mechanisms of this game, and then it was really light in some aspects of the game. And I got the deluxified version, with the huge box that I could not fit onto my Kallax shelf, And then, you have this huge box, and then you put it out. There's a lot of setup, and then it's such a simple game, which at first I was kind of disappointed, but then I liked it because of the theme, the art, and I like the game. It's good. I really like it, but once I realized it's not what I thought, but it's Tidal Blades.
Okay.
Heroes of the Reef. So, and it's very high because I really enjoy it for what it is when I realized it's not something that I promised myself in my head, But when you look at this game, there's a lot of things going on. You can see this kind of adventures. You fight the reef monsters. You do this, but eventually, you put out your character. What you get? I get 2 of the fruits. I can spend fruits to get the market cards. Market cards give me some small bonus. You use dice, and there's like a dice upgrade system, and then you kind of upgrade those dice. They become somewhat better, but it's not like a huge difference of a die. It's the same. It's just you have a bigger chance to get more of the symbols. That's it. And you can develop dice in one way to the red side or to the blue side. Only 2 different ways to upgrade your dice. And I thought the dice upgrade gonna be like something like a die corresponds to the card or something. In my head, I thought of something much bigger, like Marvel, Dice Masters, whatever, this kind of a thing. And what I got is just you upgrade the dice, then you use the dice, but then you want to use some of these dice on the reef monsters that give you a lot of bonuses, but then the dice are gone. You have to build up again and again, and this is an issue here of this game in a sense. if you cannot get past it, it's like I thought I'm gonna build up and feel huge at the end of the game, but at the end of the game, you might feel really small and helpless. I like the cards for each of these, and they have the ability, but everything is light. Like every portion of the game is very, very light. It fooled me into thinking of a huge adventure, this thematic game, upgrades, things, stuff, like Abyss. It's the same vibe as Abyss. It promised me a bigger game, in a sense. Maybe in my own head, because I didn't read well enough. And the upgrade of the characters, how you upgrade the dials and what they give you, it's all kind of cool and kind of on a straightforward side. Yeah, Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef, fooled me and probably fooled quite a few people more.
Fair enough.
Let's get to number 1.
Let's go. All right. So my number 1 fooled me. They've all kind of fooled me in different ways. So have you ever played sort of an older public domain game called Werewolf? You played that. You've heard of it.
I might have. I don't want to remember that. Mm-hmm.
There are lots of iterations on that game. But there's one iteration that has sort of a cult status. People will always they always describe the game as saying, "Oh, it's like what Werewolf needed to be. If you play that, this is so much better. This is everyone's got a special role." That's what people will say about it. The game is Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah.
Blood on the Clock Tower is a game that makes a lot of promises, and for $150. You're really kind of going to expect this game to fulfill those promises. This game promises to be a life, I mean, not literally, but the way people describe it, it sounds like it's going to be a life-changing social deduction experience. You know what this game is? It's Fancy Werewolf. It look,
It's
I can't.
$150 werewolf, yeah?
It's a $150 werewolf.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
everyone has a special ability, but that special ability might be one piece of information, or the time when I played this, my special ability is that the game master could have me appear one way versus another. So it wasn't anything I could do. Basically, I just played a game of werewolf. Um,
Yeah.
this game is a game where if you are hosting it, I'm sure it is a life-changing, amazing experience. But as a player, it's just werewolf. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of information. Maybe it's a little less random, but did it need to be a $150 mega production to play a game that you can play for free with a pack of cards? No. So this game promised me one thing, gave me another. It fooled me. It took my $150. And now I have a fancy game of werewolf that I need, eight to 10 other people to play, and probably never will get to play again unless I go to a great big group and then I have to run it, which might be fun, but it's really just werewolf. I should have gone with my gut instinct.
When I was at your place, I looked, like, you remember me looking at this game. I opened up, I started reading the rules, I started reading the different abilities. Look, it's a fancy werewolf in the sense that it seems like there are quite a few more rules based on how different characters interact with each other. It's like there are a lot more on those characters. They are much more complex than werewolf. But like complexity for the sake of complexity. When I read all of that, I was like, it's the same thought I had with Tapanushi. Yeah? Complexity for the sake of complexity. And I asked you even like why it's so like such huge production, something like that. I asked you something about the production, like why it's so huge. It's like just where it seems to be just the social deduction game. And then they ran it on the cruise. There was a rare chance to play it. I was like, nope. I read, like, I went through the rules, okay. I didn't read them, like, full rules because, so many pages. But I read through it just a little bit. I realized, no, you will not drag me into this kind of a game. It's just a werewolf. As you said, it completely felt like it. Like every other social deduction game, just a fancy one. But sometimes the production, the fancy element and stuff can really boost your gameplay. Maybe for some people, this will be this number one social deduction game because of all of this complexity between characters and the fancy kind of a look, like you are in this atmosphere. Blood on the clock tower, it's ooh.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I enjoyed my time with it, but it was promised, I don't know, it fooled me into thinking it was going to be some life-affirming event, and it ended up being an enjoyable social deduction experience that was very similar to it. So, and unfortunately, it did that by costing me $150, and it looks like Jay is here watching this.
Joey's watching, yeah. All by yourself, you paid for it. I'm sorry.
I am too.
All right, so my number one is look. This is the one where I could have never played this game and would not have realized how great it is, because when it was in Kickstarter, I think it fooled not just me. I'm sure it fooled many people, because when I went to Kickstarter page, it's miniatures. Oh, look at this miniature. Look at this miniature. Ooh. And look, what's here? Miniature. But it's a huge miniature. Ooh. And that's Blood Rage.
Okay.
Blood Rage fooled me. Big time, huge time. I skipped it on Kickstarter because, like, I look at this and it does not look like a great game. It's a little bit washed out colors. It was like the whole page was kind of a greasy, dirty kind of a look to it. It's like the colors they chose for that page, it was badly done. It wasn't the best Kickstarter page. And I felt like, no, yet another miniature combat something game. I got it as a surprise from Secret Santa many years ago, but I'm like, I got it eventually because it was on our wish list, but it wasn't like something, like I don't know, it's not, but let's just put it on the list, and yeah, and then you play it, and then you're like, ooh. Oh, it fooled me big. It's like Simon does the zombie side, and then there's Blood Rage. What? It's such a different game. It's not a Simon game. It's not. It feels like it's not related to Simon games. Like at that point when Blood Rage came out, it was 2015, 14, whatever. At that time, Simon was not doing all of the other ones that are now kind of a more Euro-y, more hybrid-y. At that time, they were like, "Oh, the miniatures and American Thrash." It was Zombicide, yeah, all of that. And then you play it, and there's the drafting and kind of engine building, and resource things, and you get points. You win by points, and you sometimes can lose a battle. You still do well with lucky strategy, whatever. It's like. Everything kind of works. This battle thing, you just compare cards. Like you have some troops, okay, they give you things, and then you upgrade the troops. They give you more power. Then you just lay down the cards, reveal them, simultaneous action selection kind of feel. Wow, what's going on? It's a hybrid game. It's on the same level as like Cyclades. When you look at Cyclades, all of those things, miniatures, you think about fighting. I didn't put Cyclades on the list because it was one of my first games. I didn't really expect anything. It didn't fool me or anything like that. It was at the beginning of my. But Blood Rage was already when I played games for a few years. I kind of knew what to expect in a sense with some games, and I was like, "Ooh, it's just a Cyclades, a hybrid, a perfect hybrid." Wow, it surprised me. It fooled me, and. I blame Simon for doing this abysmal Kickstarter page, fooling me because now they love their exclusive stuff. I would have backed it. I would have backed it on Kickstarter and got my Fenrir, the wolf, all the like exclusive things that I really wanted. I could not. Because I didn't back it on Kickstarter because I was fooled that it's a different game. Ooh. Okay, breathe out. Okay. You damn Simon. Or hey, come on.
At least you didn't pay for it.
True.
Your fool saved you money it didn't save you money, but you didn't have to pay $150 to be fooled.
No, it's usually cheaper on Kickstarter. I think it was about like $100 old. Like you can get the exclusive stuff and etc. Anyway, that's it. I would say
that is. That's the end of our prepared remarks.
Yeah, and so happy Fool's Day. Don't get fooled. You can fool around. Do not be foolish, and go fool some friends of yours.
Okay, you're really
help me.
Yeah. So goodbye. We'll see you next time in a couple of weeks.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope. All right. Anyway, thank you for watching.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Soon. Now, bye-bye.
Do you need to push in?
Yes.